Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for another amazing podcast. Now this podcast it's gonna be a lot fun, but it will be more on informative side because students have lot of queries when it comes to PR, especially when it comes to non-ACCA approved employer, right? So today I have Harsh Gupta with me who just became ACCA member. So first of all, congratulations Harsh, and he will be giving insights about PR and everything. So, firstly, he has come on my channel for the first time where we had a lot of candid conversation. So, you can go and check out that particular podcast also. But who are coming for the very first time and who didn't, don't know much about Harsh Gupta, I give him few seconds to introduce himself. How is he? How are you doing, Harsh?
Yeah, so always good to be on Ruchi's YouTube channel, and thank you so much for having me. So, hi everyone, my name is Harsh Gupta, and I'm a recently qualified ACCA member in December 23.
Wow.
I'm currently working with Deloitte India as an executive in the risk advisory domain. So, those who all know what is risk advisory, so basically, in layman terms, it is all about internal audit and its related aspects. And in my pastime, I love to write. I love to help ACC students, affiliates, and members
Right.
guiding through their career paths. And looking forward to it.
That's amazing. If you haven't checked out his, LinkedIn, you must go and see. There are so insightful posts that you can actually go and read it. So let's, start with the PR. Let's start with how he got 3 years approval. So tell us about your company, at which you got the PR approval.
Okay, so I started my 36 months or 3 years of PER journey first with KPMG India.
Okay.
So it was around 8 months duration when I was working with KPMG India. I started in 2020,
Okay.
and in 2021, middle of 2021, I left KPMG. Then I
Mhm.
joined a CA firm based in my city. I'm from Jaipur, Rajasthan. It
Okay.
was a mid-tier CA firm, mainly engaged with clients involving government entities and ministries. So it was a CAG empaneled CA firm. So I joined the CA firm as an audit and assurance assistant.
Okay.
And later on, I grew up the ladder, and I was promoted to senior executive. So I led many of the internal audit assignments for
Wow.
many of the government ministries too, and many of the Rajasthan government ministries specifically to say. So I worked there for almost over 2 years, let's say 25 months to be specific. Then I
Okay.
joined another CA firm, a little big one than that in my same city, Jaipur, Rajasthan. I joined there as a senior executive. I worked there till October. I worked for about 6 to 7 months. Then this Deloitte India opportunity came through my fortune,
That's
and now I'm working with Deloitte. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So to just sum up, you have actually came from KPMG to CA from one, then two, and then finally Deloitte India. So that's how
Yes.
your work life is going on. So,
Yes.
if I may ask, like you got PR for CA firms only, or you got it from, in addition with KPMG also? Like 36 months was an addition of like which roles?
Okay, so 36 months comprised of about 6 to 8 months of KPMG. So it was a completely separate. I
Mhm.
got it signed off from my manager, who is a chartered accountant basically.
Okay.
Then, when I moved to the first CA firm, I was
Mhm.
working under a partner who is obviously a Indian chartered accountant. He
Right.
signed off my around 25 months of performance PR time plus performance objectives. Then, when I moved to the second CA firm in my city, I was working with the director. He signed off my second time my PR time and my objectives. So this is how the 36 months was divided among the 9 objectives and the time period.
Okay. So if I may ask, when it comes to KPMG, as you mentioned, in CA firms, you were the auditor and you were working more on research and with the Rajasthan government. So if I may say, in other words, you were not always working in the audit field. You were also working on other fields as well. So there's a myth
Yes.
that while you do PR, there's a compulsion that you have to stick to the audit field. So was it, a restriction? Was it something that you have to be aware?
No, no, no. So, obviously, this is one of the biggest myths
Hmm.
that students and affiliates have in their mind, that they have to work in an audit or accounting or finance field in order to get their PR signed off. But
Hmm.
that is not true, because when we see around that, what kind of diverse professionals or what kind of diverse ACCA professionals we have who are working not only in audit or accounting field, but entrepreneurship, investment banking, or
Yeah.
management consulting to say. So, if I can just give a brief about my work at
Yes.
KPMG.
Yes.
So it was more towards internal audit, IFC audits,
Okay.
SOX audits. It was more towards ERM compliance checklist. ERM is basically
Yeah.
enterprise risk management, where we basically study a company, study their SWOT analysis, study their competitors, and what are the risk and the what can be the mitigation strategies for a company if they are, let's say, trying to enter into a new market. So
Mhm.
these type of tasks are also done by, let's say, professionally qualified chartered accountants.
Right.
It is not only restricted to audits.
Audits.
And just to prove this point, if you just see those 17 performance objectives which are technical in nature, there you can
Right.
see there is corporate advisory, there is business advisory, there is research and analytics. So all these things which I did, they are covered in those technical objectives. So
Mhm.
mainly I got those type of technical objectives signed off by my PER supervisor. So this is how you can do it. It is not all compulsion that you have to work in an audit, accounts, or finance field.
Right. Actually, this is the, basic question that I get a lot of DMs about. Mom, do I have to stick to audit field? Because I come from audit. When I was in EY, I always stick to audit. So obviously, I am not a better person to ask. It is always better who has actually done that, who has actually experienced that. So you are one of them, and they can believe you because, you have the proof that yes, my PR objectives got also approved. So yes, this is the common myth that I want to burst out, that you don't have to always work in the audit firm for, to get that particular 36-month approval. Now, if I may ask, KPMG that you mentioned, you must have got the exemption for a certain amount. Like if I say that there is a document, PR exemption that I used. So did you actually exempt any of the objectives in KPMG, or you decided to do all the objectives in the CA firms? Like how you did deal with the performance objectives.
Okay, so just to reiterate my point, which I mentioned earlier. So
Mhm.
I was working with KPMG India, or to be specific, it is KPMG India Services LLP. And as per the ACCA contract, KPMG India is not a recognized ACCA employer.
Okay.
It is mainly the KPMG Global Division, which is famously known as KGS, KPMG
ATS.
Global Division. Yes. So
Right.
that division is basically an ACC approved employer. So if you are working under KGS, which is their foreign division to say, then you might get some or all of the exemptions from writing the performance objectives. But because I was working with KPMG India, so I had to write all the 9 performance objectives in line.
Okay, okay. Actually, there's also confusion that if you work in Big Four, you get the exemption. So it's not that case, right? If you are working
No,
in
it's not like
KPMG
that.
India, you will not get exemption. But if you are getting in, KGS, then you may. I
KGS.
guess similarly, it is for EY because I working in EY GDS. That's why I got it. But
Okay.
if I would have been in EY India, then I would have not got it, right? So
Yes.
that's the another, big thing that every student has to keep in mind. Now let's discuss, as you mentioned during your second CA firm, you got your progression, you got your promotions. So when did you actually decide to apply for the PR, when you decided to leave and shift to another firm, or the promotion happened? Like students are confused when when it is the correct time to apply for PR, at the end or at the middle. So if you could
Okay.
answer that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I personally used a very simple and the most effective method for my PR recording. So whenever I joined a new firm, let's say when I left KPMG and when I joined my first CA firm
Mhm.
in Jaipur. So on the very second day when I joined the firm, on the very second day, I basically got in touch with the partner who technically was my reporting manager as well. I got in touch with sir, and I basically interacted with him, told him that I am doing ACCA and this is how we have to record our 36 months of work experience. It
Right.
is similar to the what CA have in common, like the articleship experience, we
Absolutely.
have like this 36 months of experience.
Yes.
In within 10 to 15 minutes, he was quite convinced.
Hmm.
And on the very second day, I register my PR supervisor on the My ACCA portal. So
Okay.
on the very on the very second day, I made sure that I got my PR supervisor registered on the portal, and my PR clock starts. It is a 36 months clock.
Yes.
So it is all up to the up to the student or affiliate, that when he or she wants to basically start recording their PR after joining the firm.
Oh,
But if I have to recommend to someone that if you wish to feel a little calm, do it as soon as you join the firm, because then you can start working and you don't have that headache that okay, I have to get my PR supervisor registered, I have to do this, I have to do that. So I made sure that I should get my PR supervisor registered in the very first week of joining the firm, and that's how I did in second CA firm as well. So yeah.
okay, okay. So actually, when I was getting it approved, I decided to get it approved in the last week. So honestly, it was a huge headache for me. I'll tell you why, because I worked for 1.5 months. Now, during that time, 3 to 4 managers had changed. So obviously, it was difficult for me to convince somebody to actually sign whole 1.5, years of experience for me. So obviously, Harsh gave you a better advice. As soon as you join it, you actually, get your supervised on the ACCA so that it's actually better and your clock starts, right? So if I may
Correct.
ask, like, was the procedure same for you or was it different? Like, what did I do? I actually went to my ACC account. I just launched my experience, and then I wrote my name, email ID, and company's name of the supervisor. And then my supervisor got an email, and he had to register with his email ID, phone number, and OTP and through ACCA. And this is how he approved the time, right? I hope this procedure was same for you also.
It was same. It was completely same.
So basically, we are actually getting, the time approval that yes, we have worked with you with this particular time, right? Or we have started
Yes.
working with you with this time. So this is the main role
Correct.
of the supervisor. Actually, students are confused. What will supervisor do? And they are not able to explain it to their managers or partners, as you mentioned. So this was the information that he has to just approve the time that you are working or you have worked with them for this particular time. Right.
Yes.
So this was regarding the PR approval, time approval. So just a last question with this particular segment, like your supervisor has to be a CA always. Like in your case, was it always a CA or can he, hold a different degree or what should be his qualification?
Okay, so I'll be a little technical on this question to
Mhm.
answer this question. So when it comes to that, your supervisor has to be a CA or not. So according to ACCA, anyone can be your peer supervisor. The condition being that person has to be an IFAC qualified chartered accountant or an IFAC qualified professional accountancy body member.
Yeah.
So if I just take an example, if
Yeah.
you're working in India, if you're working in India, there are only two professional accounting bodies in India who are approved by IFAC, which is International Federation of Accountants. It is ICAI and ICMAI, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountant, basically the Cost and Works Accountant, or the CMA India, which we say.
Yeah.
So, so you can get your PER signed off, both your time and your objectives, by a qualified CA, ICI member, by
Yeah.
a qualified CMA India, or an
Yeah.
ACCA to say if you are working under an ACCA member.
ACCA.
So he has to be an IFAC qualified member. That is the only condition. There are no conditions apart from this.
Really? So these are the three conditions because students are again very confused. Ma'am, should I get it approved from manager, general manager, or the senior that I have worked with? What should be his qualification? Can I, this is very, 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 I'll say very shady area because something this is students don't read so much of information on ACCA Global website, and there is not much information available on YouTube as well. regarding the qualification, which say, dude, this is the three criteria. So you have actually summed up very well, because I can now remember on my tips that these has to be the criteria for this. So does it matter that he has to be a manager, he has to be a senior manager, or he has to be something like that, or the qualification is the only criteria, if I may ask?
Okay. Yeah. So, according to ACCA, the qualification takes the basically supersedes your
Hmm.
manager's role basically.
Yes.
So, first and foremost, he has to be a qualified IFAC person who is
Right.
a IFAC registered member body. Secondly, it is always advised by ACCA, and I would advise the similar thing that that person whom you are working under, if that person is your reporting manager, then everything gets sorted, or everything is clear. I'll just give you an example basically. While submitting your PER and when you're ready to apply for the membership,
Hmm.
there can be a case, God forbids, it doesn't happen to you. But there have been few cases that many of ACCA members who have applied for membership, their PER have come under scrutiny by ACCA.
Oh,
It was,
okay.
yeah, it was because it can be because of variety of reasons, but
Right.
few of the reasons are they got their PR signed off by some other person in that firm who he didn't work under, who was not his or her reporting manager, who was not his or her team lead. So
Right.
it is always advised by ACCA and by me as well that you get that person registered into ACCA who is your reporting manager. See, while working in a big four or a big six or a big company like setup, it is always clear that what is the line of authority.
Yes.
You always get assigned to a reporting manager who would basically be your go-to person, whether be anything related to your mid-year performance appraisal, year-end performance appraisal, promotions, bonuses, everything. He would be that person.
Right.
So if you are assigned to a person who is your reporting manager, get that person only registered under ACCA, not anyone else. To basically keep everything clean,
Mhm.
even if it comes under the scrutiny of ACCA, because that is the last thing which you wish to have for yourself, that to come under the scrutiny of ACCA, because all the hard work which you have done throughout the years, that
Right.
can all go in vain.
Right.
So it is always advised to get your reporting manager, or even if you're working in a CA firm, in a small CA firm, you would always get assigned to, okay, this person would be your team lead. This
Team.
person would be your manager. So your partner would obviously tell you that, okay, Harsh, so Mr. A would be your go-to person. Mr. A would be your manager. So
Yes.
you have to always keep in mind that, okay, Mr. A is my reporting manager. I would get him registered under ACCA. So this
Right.
is how you can keep that in check.
Also, in case you are getting, approved by somebody else in your firm, then in the future, if it something happen, he or may step back, and he be like, I'm not answering,
Correct.
future. So if he is your reporting manager, he knows you very well, he has worked with you. So in future, he will come up with official mail or something to, prove or support yourself. So obviously, you have to be honest that you have a support in future if you are reporting about your manager. So this is the first criteria. And guys, this is the first segment where we covered the PR. Now let's move on to the performance objective. And third segment will be the questions that we get from the followers directly. We will be covering 2 to 3 questions there. Now let's move on to the second segment, the performance objective. Okay, in my case, it was just a bit easy task because it got exempted due to EYGDS. So I am being very honest, I don't have too much of idea how to write it. I know what each and every performance objective say, because that's how I got it exempted, that this role was actually fulfilled by me, and I had explained it to my manager. But when it comes to how to write it, how to write down your experience, and how to, get it approved, you are better person to guide it. So if you could just, get it, because every student has to get 9 performance objective. So how was your experience, and how did you decide your 9, and how did you write it about it? And few tips.
Okay. So before starting or before going into too much technicalities, I'll
Yeah.
just say that it was a fun task to write for me,
Okay.
because it was the thing that I have to just basically go into the flashback what I did into my role, and just write a 200-word essay. So you can say that you have to write 9 200-word essay to
Hmm.
complete your performance objectives criteria. It is like that. Now let's jump into a little bit of technicalities.
Hmm.
So let's say we can divide those 9 performance objectives into 5 compulsory objectives and
Right.
4 are technical.
Essay.
Those 4 technical objectives you can select from a list of 17.
Hmm.
Then those 17 objectives are also divided into various subcategories. There is a category for audit, there is a category for finance and investment banking, there is a category for financial reporting, there is a category, if I can remember,
Tax
corporate advisory and
also.
business advisory. Yeah, tax also.
Tax
Yes,
also.
tax also. So there are various subcategories.
Hmm.
So it is obviously confirmed that you have to get your 5 those compulsory objectives.
Right.
You have to write those. Then you can select based upon what kind of work you did during your 36 months of work experience. You can select any 4.
Right.
And it is not at all compulsory that if you are targeting one of the subcategories, let's say tax, and tax have, let's say, 4 performance objectives under it. It is not at all compulsory that if you're targeting one of the performance objective of tax, then you
Hmm.
have to complete all the performance objectives under tax category. It is not at all compulsory. You can just do one
Right.
in the tax, you can do 2 in audit, you can do 1 in corporate advisory,
Yeah.
or any kind of permutation and combination you can apply, and you can do any kind of performance objective, though 4 technical. You have to just complete 4 technical. It can be from any of the categories, no strings attached to it.
Right.
And now coming on to the second point, there are various resources on ACCA Global website which will help you to write better and good performance objectives. Uh, so I read all of those,
Okay.
and but to help you that you don't have to read all of those, I'll just give 1 2 pointers.
Right.
Just listening to 1 2 those pointers, you can just skip all those pages available on ACCA Global website.
Wow.
So what I did was basically ACCA says in very simple language that they just wish to know that in that particular objective,
Hmm.
uh, what you did in your actual role, or they wish to know that one real workplace example. Let's take an example. There is one of the compulsory performance objective which is known as stakeholder relationship management.
Yeah.
In that stakeholder relationship management, ACC just want to know one example, well written 200 word essay, one example, what you did in that role to satisfy this objective.
Okay.
Many a times, what students and affiliates tend to do is that they don't write what they actually did, but they tend to write what they will do if they are in that role.
Okay.
So ACCA says that we don't wish to read that what you would have done if you
Yeah.
were in that role. ACCA wish to know that if you have applied or if you wish to claim this objective, you
Hmm.
have to showcase to us that one example, one real workplace example that you did that work, and this is how you satisfied this objective. So let's say when I did my stakeholder relationship management, so
Mhm.
in stakeholder relationship management, basically it talks about 3 4 pointers. One of those pointers is that how I dealt with the client queries and
Yeah.
how I was to establish a repo with the client.
Right.
So I gave one of the examples when I was working with KPMG. So I was dealing with one of the IFC audit assignments.
Hmm.
So this was the assignment which I was basically involved into the mainstream task. So
Okay.
I told or I wrote about my experience that this is how I did. This is how I was assisted by my team. This is how I was assisted or helped by my managers. And I wrote a 200-word essay
Wow.
giving real workplace examples, giving real facts and figures, not the
Right.
confidential information obviously,
Hmm.
but you have to support your arguments which you are giving in that objective, that this is how I did
Hmm.
and this was the real workplace example. Then obviously your PER supervisor would get notified when you once click on submit button,
Yeah.
and you have to click on the submit button. If your PER supervisor is satisfied that Harsh did this work, he would definitely submit okay or enter. And this is how I got one of those objectives signed. It is similar for other 8 objectives as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, so you have to keep in mind at last that you don't have to write that what you would have done.
Done.
You have to write just one really good real workplace example, which you showcased during your tenure with that company or with that firm.
Right.
That's it.
So you don't have to imagine anything. You just have to go back and you have to, remember everything what you have done. So it's nothing sort of your imagination. So one question just came into my mind. Let's say, does ACCA, expect you to write perfect English, or is it just a real life scenario that needs to be described in very easy language, like, one-to-one person talking, and I can just describe how I fulfill that objective. I hope it doesn't have to be in a very perfect, in a very flowery language. Is it so, or it has to be just
Yeah.
simple?
No, so I'll answer this question in a very simple language.
Hmm.
That when ACCA brings out its examiner reports soon after the results, they say that they don't want you to be an English master.
Right.
They don't want to be a William Shakespeare, basically.
Yes. Yes.
So it is very similar to writing answers in an exam to writing a 200-word essay for your performance objective. You don't have to be a William Shakespeare. You just have to be in a very simple language. Just give an example, a real workplace example.
Hmm.
By writing that example, you have to prove to ACCA that I have completed this objective, and in my truest form, in the most honest form, I have completed this objective. And this is the example for you to be rest assured that I am claiming an objective which I have done, and my PR supervisor has also approved the same. So you don't have to be too much cautious about, okay, अरे ये spelling mistake हो गई,
हाँ,
or my grammar is wrong.
हाँ,
Okay, so I'll just give you one instance. While submitting my last performance objective, it was one of the technical objectives.
okay.
Basically, after submitting it, I just remember that I made 2 3 spelling mistakes.
Hmm.
And so I got a little scared. Oh, now what would happen? Okay, my
Right.
supervisor would not read that much, but he will approve this. But
Okay.
when this objective will go under the eyes of ACCA team,
Hmm.
would they disapprove it, or would anything can go wrong when I am applying for membership? I was little into apprehension.
Hmm.
But when it got all approved and nothing got into scrutiny or anything like that, so I was rest assured that ACCA just takes that into consideration, that what you write in an exam, that kind of simple language they expect you to write in that 200-word essay. So you have to just keep in mind that, keep it very simple, keep it very low key. You just have to explain it in a very simple language that you did this thing, you are very honest and you are very transparent about it, and nothing else. So that's it. Yeah.
So that's amazing. You can write, you can just go back and be a 10th class student where you have to write a real life case scenario. In 10th, you don't have to write flowery language, you just have to write lucid language. Now, from your conversation, like what when I was actually getting it approved, obviously through names, I could actually understand what the objective wants to say, but there are few technical also which you actually don't get it by name itself. So ACC, you can just check on ACC global website, they have explained each objective in detail as to when you are getting it approved, what they actually expect from you, like what is the real meaning of this particular objective. So do you think is that information enough to understand that what is actually required? Because sometimes what happened, a situation might have happened and we will not be able to relate it to that particular objective. There must be some confusion. Does that scenario belong to this objective or not? So do you think that information on ACC account is enough, or how can one get more information regarding those objectives to
Okay.
understand?
So yeah. So when a student or an affiliate go to the record my experience portal, on
Right.
that portal, so once you click on that objective, so there are 2 3 more sub options under that objective. There is one, what are the linked exams to that objective. So if you say, if you just open the stakeholder relationship management objective, if you click on that, you would see that what kind of ACCA papers are linked to this objective. So
Oh.
you can see SBR, you can see SBL, you can see other papers as well. Then there is the second option which says that about this objective. In that about this objective, there are case instances, or there are various sub pointers which
Mhm.
basically breaks down that one liner objective into various examples.
Right.
So you can read those examples, you can read those instances, that what ACC is trying to get from your hand, that what ACC is trying to ask me, what kind of objective I have to write in that particular part.
Yeah.
Even if you're not able to got some understanding or get some understanding from that part, there are various resources. Even there is a PR toolkit uploaded on ACC Global website.
Hmm.
You can access those on a free terms. and you can read various examples under each of the performance objectives written in that PER toolkit. And that is explained in a very good and a very easy to read language. You can do that, and post reading that, you can get an understanding that, okay, this is how I have to develop my understanding about writing my own performance objective, and this is how I have to write my own essay. So I think that kind of resources will help or can help a student or an affiliate to write performance objective in a very easy to go language.
Okay, so basically it can be written if you are, ready to invest some time, because students are not ready to invest time. They want everything on spoon feeding. So guys, if you don't understand, spend some time instead of writing wrong example. Don't write, end up giving another example to another objective. So that's a common mistake that I would obviously love to avoid for each one of you. Now let's move on to the third. Anything you would like to add additionally, or we should move to the third segment where we can answer, questions.
Uh, so mainly we have covered all the main
Yeah,
pointers with regards to recording the time or the performance objective. Just
right.
just one last thought when
Hmm.
we move to the next segment before the move. So just be honest and be transparent while writing your performance
Right.
objectives, because at the end of the day it is your years of hard work which you are now getting benefits of, or you would be getting benefits of once you gain the membership. And the last resort would be to get under the scrutiny. So just to avoid all of those technicalities, to avoid all of those scrutiny and all of those checks,
Hmm.
and because there can be a case that when you're working with a CA firm, let's say, because many ACC students work under CA firm, when you're
Right.
working in a CA firm, first it is a very ordeal task that to get your manager or your to get your director or partner on board on the MyACC portal. And secondly, if God forbids, if you get under the scrutiny or checks of ACCA, then that is the second biggest task. That if ACCA inquire them as well, that okay, we have to talk to your managers. If they back out of if they step back, then
Hmm.
you are under the dark hole, and matlab, you can't do anything in that
Something.
aspect.
Some,
So to avoid all of those technicalities, to avoid all of those challenges, just be transparent, just be little more cautious when you're starting out on your PER, and
right.
rest all assured, you will be sorted.
Of course. And don't write any vague language. Just be honest and just be direct to
Yes.
the point and
Yeah.
mentioning the most honest information that you can write. Don't
Yeah.
fabricate anything that, yeah, I have done this. Fabrication is the last thing that you would like to do, because your supervisor can, even not if gets to the AGCA, your supervisor has to read it. So your supervisor
Correct.
can also cross question, oh, really? I don't remember you doing this. So even you
Correct.
don't want to get into bad eyes of your supervisor. So it's not
Correct.
always easy. See, your supervisor is also in between. So you have to be honest
Correct.
to him as well. He knows you better than anyone. So that's one
Correct.
thing that Harsh has brought up very nicely and very clearly. Okay, now that we have only 5 minutes left, let's start with the last segment where I'll be asking you the questions that followers asked me. Now, the first question would be, what process to be followed if my 3 years experience is my CA articleship in an Indian CA firm? So the process
Okay.
remains same.
Yes, the process completely remains same. All you have to do is first register in ACC as a student. You have to do that. Then you have to go into the record my ACCA experience portal.
Right.
You have to follow all of those experiences. Your manager would get a notification on
Right.
his email ID. They would have to register or create a PER supervisor account. Then after that account has been created, you would get linked, or your profile would get shown in your manager's PER supervisor account. Then you can obviously claim your time once you complete your job, and you can claim your objective as well if he is a qualified IFAC member. Yeah,
Yeah.
it remains the same.
It remains same, and you can get
Yeah.
articleship experience in that particular 36
Yeah.
months. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Now, is it compulsory to work in a CA firm or big four or six like setup only? Can't we work in small companies or security houses like AMCs, among others?
Yeah. So this question have been asked to me quite a several times by students and affiliates. It is not at all compulsory. Let me be very straight in front of you that it is not at all compulsory to work in a CA firm or a Big Four, Big Six like setup. You can work in those, but even if you're working for MSMEs, a micro company, or small or medium-sized enterprises, you can work with security houses. All those conditions which me and Ruchi have discussed earlier in this podcast regarding that your reporting manager should be an IFAC qualified member, and you should do a work which a ACC qualified professional would do. It should not be like, let's say, let's take an example. If you're working into digital marketing, so obviously that can't get counted towards your PER. You can't work under digital marketing and you can get your PER signed off. You have to work in like areas which a CA member would work, which an ACCA member would work. So you have to work in those kind of areas. Not at all compulsory. You have to work in audit only. You can work in any of the areas which a CA or ACCA member you see working around you. So if you're confident that okay, a CA or ACCA member can work in these areas, so you can obviously work. Security houses are always welcome. You can work in, let's say, ICICI Security or HDFC Securities, because there are chartered accountants working in these kind of companies. If your manager is a chartered accountant in this company or an ACCA member, you can obviously work in a security house or an MSME. It is all fine.
Okay, so there are huge, huge, huge opportunities out there. You don't have to always, restrict to yourself to big four or CA firms. It's not your,
Correct.
whirlwind end if you don't get opportunity in that particular area. So that's actually
Correct.
very nicely brought up. Now, the last question would be, if we have worked somewhere for only 4 months or even less, should I first place that towards my PR? If I can, then can I even rightfully claim performance objective as well if I honestly worked on those?
Okay, so yeah, again, this question has been asked to me quite a several of times. So to answer this, I'll give a very bookish answer, which ACC have written. There is no condition or no criteria or no string attached that you have to work in a role for, let's say, 1 year or more in order to get your performance objective signed off. Even if you have done an internship, even if you have done a full-time internship uh, in a CA firm, let's say for only 2 months, and you have honestly worked on an assignment, let's say you were a part of an audit assignment, you worked on that for those straight 2 months, you can get performance objectives also signed off if you are satisfying those, and you can get your time also signed off for those 2 months. So it is not at all compulsory that you have to work for, let's say, 10 months or more, or 1 year or more. You can work for even a single month, and if your manager or your PR supervisor is okay with that, you can get your time, even your objective signed off. There are no strings attached to it.
Okay, so that was
Yeah.
it for this particular segment. So thank you, huge thank you, Harsh, to come actually
Yeah.
forward. Let me tell you guys, I posted a LinkedIn, and out of how many followers, I don't remember, he is the only person who stepped forward and requested me that, Ruchi, please let's do this particular podcast. So not just for this podcast, but also to come forward, it takes a lot of time, courage. Obviously you are very busy, and we are doing this on Sunday, so taking out your personal time too, I require, can't thank you enough for coming forward and
No,
having this
so
particular podcast. So
actually,
yeah.
from a very long time, I've been getting queries with regards to PER, and I was planning to do a video or record a video on all of these topics. And at the same time, when I saw your post, and I thought that this is the best time when I can be on LinkedIn and YouTube as well, because Ruchi has a great going YouTube channel. So I thought that this is the best time when I can address those queries which is continuously hitting my DMs as well on LinkedIn. So
Right.
yeah, it was great talking to you, and it is. I'm always happy to help all the future ACC aspirants and ACC students in FY.